A brilliant doctor finds himself at the center of a scandal that threatens to destroy everything he holds dear. Accused of negligence, his once impeccable reputation is in ruins, and his career hangs by a thread. But instead of succumbing to despair, Dr. Richard embarks on a relentless quest for justice. With the unexpected help of a young, determined lawyer named Amelia, he uncovers a web of deceit that goes far beyond his own case. What if the very system created to protect us was being manipulated for darker purposes? Dr. Richard had always been the epitome of dedication and skill in the medical field. His patients trusted him, his colleagues respected him, and his reputation was impeccable. But everything changed on a fateful day when he was suddenly accused of negligence in a high-profile case. The news spread like wildfire, and the once-admired doctor found himself at the center of a scandal. Richard stood in his office, staring at the notice of suspension, disbelief etched across his face. How could this be happening? He had always done everything by the book, always put his patients first. Yet here he was, being accused of something he knew in his heart he hadn't done. The hospital administration had no choice but to suspend him pending an investigation. The corridors that were once filled with greetings and smiles were now filled with whispers and suspicious glances. Richard could feel the weight of judgment pressing down on him with every step he took. It was as if the very walls of the hospital were closing in on him. The place he had once considered a second home now felt like a hostile battleground. Determined to clear his name, Richard began to gather evidence and revisit the details of the case. He spent countless hours poring over medical records, trying to find the missing piece of the puzzle that would prove his innocence. But the more he dug, the more complex the situation seemed to become. The odds were stacked against him, and it felt like an insurmountable mountain to climb. One evening, as he sat alone in his dimly lit living room, Richard received a call from an unknown number. It was Amelia, a young and ambitious lawyer who had been following his case closely. She believed in his innocence and wanted to help. Richard felt a glimmer of hope for the first time since the accusation. Perhaps, with her determination and his knowledge, they could uncover the truth. Their first meeting was a turning point. Amelia listened intently as Richard recounted every detail of the incident. Her sharp mind and keen instincts picked up on inconsistencies that Richard had missed. Together, they started to piece together the fragments of the case, slowly revealing the truth hidden beneath layers of falsehood. But as they delved deeper, they realized that this wasn't just about clearing Richard's name. There were larger forces at play, and someone had a vested interest in seeing him fall. The fight for justice was not going to be easy, and they would face many obstacles along the way. But Richard was determined to restore his reputation and continue his work as a doctor. His patients needed him, and he couldn't let them down. Richard and Amelia's journey had just begun, and the path ahead was fraught with challenges. But with their combined resolve, they were ready to face whatever came their way, determined to unveil the truth and restore Richard's shattered reputation. Despite the heavy cloud of suspicion hanging over him, Dr. Richard refused to abandon his calling. The hospital administration might have suspended him, but his patients were his true priority. Richard decided to volunteer at a free clinic in a disadvantaged neighborhood, determined to continue his work even as he fought to clear his name. Every morning, he walked through the doors of the small clinic, his white coat a symbol of hope for the community. The patients there didn't know about the accusations. To them, he was just Dr. Richard, the compassionate and skilled doctor who listened to their concerns and treated them with respect and kindness. One day, a young mother rushed into the clinic, her child burning with fever. Richard immediately took charge, his hands steady and his mind focused. He examined the child, diagnosed an infection, and swiftly administered the necessary treatment. As the fever began to subside, the mother looked at Richard with tears of gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you, doctor," she whispered. "You saved my baby." Richard smiled, his heart swelling with the reminder of why he became a doctor in the first place. But even as he helped his patients, the weight of the accusations never fully left his mind. He knew that his every move was being scrutinized, and any misstep could be used against him. At the clinic, he formed a close bond with the staff, who soon became his allies. They saw his dedication and the sincerity in his actions. Nurse Carla, who had been skeptical at first, grew to admire his unwavering commitment to his patients despite the personal turmoil he was enduring. "Dr. Richard," Carla said one afternoon, "you're one of the best doctors I've ever worked with. We believe in you." Those words meant the world to him. He felt a renewed sense of determination, knowing that there were people who believed in his innocence. Every patient he treated, every life he touched, was a step towards reclaiming his reputation and proving his worth as a doctor. One evening, as Richard was preparing to leave the clinic, Amelia called with an update. "Richard, I found something. There's a pattern here, a series of similar accusations against other doctors in the past. It's like someone's targeting the best and brightest." Her discovery sent chills down Richard's spine. It wasn't just about him. It was part of something much larger and more sinister. The stakes were higher than ever, but he was ready to face whatever came next. With Amelia by his side and the support of his new colleagues, Richard knew he had to keep fighting. As he hung up the phone, Richard glanced around the empty clinic, the echoes of the day's work still lingering in the air. He took a deep breath, feeling a mix of exhaustion and resolve. The path ahead was uncertain, but his mission was clear: to clear his name, protect his patients, and bring the truth to light. Just when Dr. Richard felt the weight of the world pressing down on him, Amelia came into his life. Amelia was a young, ambitious lawyer with a fierce determination to uncover the truth. She had been following his case closely and saw inconsistencies that others had overlooked. Their first meeting was at a small cafe near the clinic where Richard volunteered. He was wary, his trust shattered by the ordeal he was enduring, but something about Amelia's confidence and sincerity made him believe she might be able to help. "Dr. Richard, I know you're innocent," Amelia began, her eyes locking onto his with unwavering conviction. "I've been digging into your case, and I believe there's more to this than meets the eye. Will you let me help you?" Richard hesitated for a moment, studying her. "Why do you want to help me? What's in it for you?" Amelia leaned forward, her expression earnest. "Because I believe in justice, and I believe in you. Your patients need you, and the truth needs to come out. Together, we can make that happen." Richard nodded slowly, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time in weeks. "All right, Amelia, I'm willing to give it a shot. Where do we start?" Amelia had already done her homework. She presented a detailed plan, outlining the steps they needed to take to gather evidence and build a solid defense. Her determination was infectious, and Richard found himself revitalized, ready to fight back with her at his side. As they delved deeper into the case, they discovered a web of deceit and manipulation. Key pieces of evidence had been tampered with, and witness statements were suspiciously inconsistent. Amelia's keen eye and relentless pursuit of the truth began to unravel the plot against Richard. One evening, they found themselves in the dimly lit basement of the hospital, searching through old records. "Look at this," Amelia whispered, holding up a file. "It's a list of doctors who have faced similar accusations over the years. There's a pattern here, and it's all connected to a senior administrator who's no longer with the hospital." Richard's heart pounded as he read through the files. "This is it, Amelia. This is the proof we need." But just as they started to piece everything together, they encountered a new obstacle. The hospital board had scheduled a hearing to decide Richard's fate, and they had limited time to present their findings. Amelia worked tirelessly, preparing their case, while Richard continued to treat his patients, driven by the belief that he would soon be vindicated. The night before the hearing, Amelia and Richard met once more to review their strategy. "We've got this," Amelia said confidently. "We have the evidence, and we have the truth on our side." Richard smiled, feeling a surge of gratitude for his unlikely ally. "I couldn't have done this without you, Amelia. No matter what happens tomorrow, thank you for believing in me." The hearing was intense, with emotions running high. Amelia presented their findings with eloquence and precision, systematically dismantling the accusations against Richard. The evidence of tampering and the pattern of similar cases painted a clear picture of a conspiracy aimed at discrediting the hospital's top doctors. As the board deliberated, Richard and Amelia waited anxiously. When the verdict was finally announced, the room erupted in relief and applause. Richard was cleared of all charges, his reputation restored. In the days that followed, Richard was reinstated at the hospital, where he was hailed as a hero by colleagues and patients alike. His bond with Amelia, forged in the crucible of adversity, remained strong. They had proven that truth and justice could prevail, even against the most daunting odds. Their journey had been long and challenging, but it had also been a testament to the power of resilience, friendship, and unwavering determination. Together, they had not only cleared Richard's name, but had also brought about a lasting change in the hospital, ensuring that such injustices would never happen again. The hearing day arrived with a tense atmosphere, the hospital's boardroom filled with an audience eager to see the outcome of this high-stakes drama. Dr. Richard sat beside Amelia, his heart pounding, but his resolve unwavering. He knew this was his chance to clear his name and reclaim his place as a trusted healer. Amelia stood confidently before the board, her presence commanding attention. Ladies and gentlemen, today we will reveal the truth about Dr. Richard's case. We have uncovered evidence of tampering, a pattern of false accusations, and a conspiracy aimed at discrediting the finest doctors in this institution. The room fell silent as Amelia presented the first piece of evidence: tampered medical records. These alterations were made to make it appear as if Dr. Richard was negligent. But we have the original documents, showing his impeccable track record. Next, she called witnesses to the stand, including Nurse Carla from the free clinic. Dr. Richard has continued to serve patients with dedication and compassion, even while under suspension, Carla testified. I have seen firsthand the kind of doctor he is, and I believe in his innocence. Amelia then introduced the pattern of accusations against other doctors. This is not an isolated incident. There is a clear, deliberate effort to undermine our most skilled medical professionals. These patterns point to one person who had a motive and the opportunity to orchestrate this. The final piece of evidence was a series of emails and documents linking the senior administrator to the false accusations. Amelia's voice was firm as she laid out the case. This evidence shows that Dr. Richard was targeted as part of a larger scheme. He is not guilty of negligence. He is a victim of a malicious plot. The board members whispered among themselves, their expressions ranging from shock to realization. Richard watched, his hope growing with each passing moment. Amelia had done an incredible job, and the truth was now undeniable. After what felt like an eternity, the head of the board called for order. We have heard compelling evidence and testimonies today. It is clear that Dr. Richard was wrongfully accused. We hereby reinstate him to his position and clear his record of all charges. The room erupted in applause. Richard felt a rush of relief and gratitude. He turned to Amelia, who smiled, her eyes reflecting the satisfaction of a battle well fought. As the hearing concluded, Richard addressed the board and his colleagues. I am deeply grateful for this opportunity to clear my name. I never stopped believing in the power of truth and justice. Thank you to everyone who stood by me, especially Amelia, whose dedication made this possible. Returning to the hospital, Richard was welcomed back with open arms. His colleagues and patients celebrated his return, their faith in him reaffirmed. The hospital had learned a valuable lesson, and changes were implemented to prevent such injustices from happening again. Richard's ordeal had been a harrowing journey, but it had also been a testament to the strength of character and the importance of standing up for what is right. With Amelia's help, he had not only restored his reputation but also ensured a safer, more just environment for everyone at the hospital. As he walked through the hospital corridors, once again filled with greetings and smiles, Richard felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He was back where he belonged, ready to continue his life's work with renewed vigor and a deeper appreciation for the people who believed in him. The day Dr. Richard was reinstated at the hospital was one filled with emotion and celebration. As he walked through the hospital doors, a wave of applause greeted him. The same corridors that once whispered doubts and suspicion now echoed with cheers and gratitude. His colleagues, patients, and even those who had doubted him stood in admiration of his unwavering dedication and resilience. Richard couldn't help but smile, feeling a sense of profound relief and joy. He was home, his reputation restored. He felt a renewed sense of purpose. The journey had been long and fraught with challenges, but he had emerged stronger and more committed to his calling than ever before. On his first day back, Richard was given a hero's welcome. Balloons and banners adorned the hospital's entrance, and the staff had prepared a small ceremony in his honor. The hospital director, who had once doubted him, stepped forward to address the crowd. Today, we celebrate not just the return of an exceptional doctor, but the triumph of truth and justice. Dr. Richard has shown us what it means to stand firm in the face of adversity. His dedication to his patients and his unwavering commitment to his profession are an inspiration to us all. Richard took the podium, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Thank you all for your support and belief in me. This experience has taught me the value of perseverance and the importance of standing up for what is right. I am deeply grateful to be back where I belong, serving alongside such incredible colleagues. As he stepped down, Amelia joined him, her face beaming with pride. You did it, Richard. You never gave up. Neither did you, he replied, grateful for her steadfast support. I couldn't have done this without you, Amelia. The celebration continued, but Richard soon found himself drawn back to the work he loved. He visited the wards, reconnecting with his patients, who were overjoyed to see him. His first patient was a young boy named Tommy, who had been anxiously awaiting his return. Richard knelt beside his bed, taking his hand. "Welcome back, Dr. Richard," Tommy said with a big smile. "I knew you'd come back." "Thank you, Tommy," Richard replied, his heart full. "It's good to be back." Throughout the day, Richard moved from room to room, his presence bringing comfort and hope. He worked with a renewed vigor, every interaction reminding him why he had fought so hard to clear his name. His patients needed him, and he was determined to give them his very best. In the weeks that followed, Richard and Amelia's bond grew stronger. They often reflected on the journey they had taken together, grateful for the friendship that had blossomed from the struggle. Richard's story became a beacon of hope within the hospital, a reminder that integrity and perseverance could overcome even the darkest of times. One evening, as Richard was leaving the hospital, he paused to look back at the building that had been the center of his life for so long. He felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. His reputation had been restored, but more importantly, he had rediscovered his purpose and the unwavering support of those around him. Dr. Richard's journey from disgrace to redemption had not only restored his career, but had also reinforced the values that defined him. He was more than a doctor. He was a symbol of hope, resilience, and the enduring power of truth. And as he walked away that evening, he knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, he would face them with the same determination and dedication that had brought him through his darkest days.